Who Awakens? A Woman's Guide to Masculine Blueprint by Alina Chamberlain. Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. The Art of Relational Harmony. The journey to a fulfilling partnership begins not with the search for the right man, but with an honest reflection in the mirror. We often choose partners who are a vibrational match for our own current state of being. If you find yourself questioning the man beside you, you must first ask the courageous question: what qualities within me invited this dynamic? This book is designed to illuminate the psychological architecture of men, allowing you to understand not only your partner's nature, but the invisible threads that bind your two worlds together. By shifting from judgment to observation, you move from a state of conflict to a state of mastery, complementing, not competing. A fundamental challenge in modern relationships is the tendency to view the opposite sex through our own emotional prism. Women often expect men to react, feel, and prioritize as they do, while men project their own logical framework onto women. However, men and women are not intended to be identical. We are two halves of a professional whole designed to complement one another. Where one is strong, the other provides a necessary counterbalance. When we fail to understand these inherent differences, we butt heads, leading to resentment and emotional distance. True maturity lies in recognizing that a difference in perspective is not a personal attack, but a biological and psychological reality. The hierarchy of values, success versus connection. One of the most profound divides between the sexes lies in the ranking of core priorities. For a man, the primary drivers are often success, recognition, and fame. This is not necessarily a sign of ego, but a manifestation of his role as a provider and protector. When a man prioritizes his career, he often believes he is doing so for his family. In his mind, his professional success is the ultimate proof of his love and commitment. Conversely, the feminine heart naturally prioritizes comfort, love, and family. A woman may feel neglected when her husband stays late at the office, interpreting his absence as a lack of care. Yet, to the man, his hard work is his way of earning the right to be respected and admired by his wife. Understanding this prevents the cycle of offense. He is not choosing work over you. He is building a kingdom for you. The Architecture of Difference, a Comparative Blueprint. The Masculine Blueprint, the Feminine Perspective, Priorities and Values, Success, Recognition, Fame, driven by a need to conquer and be acknowledged by the world. For her, comfort, love, family, driven by a need to create a safe, harmonious, and connected nest. Support and guidance, the authoritative search. They don't ask for help. They seek experts or mentors only when necessary. For her, the support network. They expect help, value collaboration, and listen to the opinions of peers. Dominant traits, logic and physicality, reliance on rational chains of thought and the strength of the will. For her, intuition and spirituality, reliance on emotional knowing, empathy, and spiritual alignment. Expression of love. I need you. A declaration of your essential place in his life's functional and emotional structure. For her, I love you. A declaration of a deep, flowing emotional state and spiritual connection. Deepest fears, rejection and failure, being found unworthy, losing the game of life, or being humiliated. For her, abandonment and judgment, being unloved, condemned by the community, or left to fend alone. Life principles. Stability. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Change is seen as unnecessary stress. For her, perfection. It can always be better. A constant drive to transform and improve the environment. Love language. Actions and silence. He proves his devotion by staying, providing, and doing. Silence is his neutral. For her, verbal and expressive. She proves her love by sharing, admiring, and speaking her heart. Conflict style. Facts and actions. Focuses on what happened and what was done. Logical and concrete. For her, emotions and experiences. Focuses on how the event felt and the emotional ripples it caused. Primary values. Results. He values the finish line, the achievement of a specific goal or task. For her, the process. She values the journey, the attention, the care, and the quality of the interaction. Responsibility. Individualistic. Primarily feels responsible for his own actions and his direct territory. For her, collective naturally thinks about everyone, children, parents, and the social web. The cave and the authority of mentorship, the way we handle stress, reveals a stark contrast in our psychological wiring. When a woman faces a crisis, her instinct is to seek support, discuss her feelings with friends, and find comfort in shared experiences. She expects the same transparency from her man. However, a man in crisis tends to isolate. He retreats into a mental cave to settle his thoughts and find a logical exit. In this state, he does not want opinions, he seeks authoritative expertise. A man will not ask his neighbor for medical advice, he will seek the best specialist. Similarly, if you suggest a family psychologist, his participation depends entirely on whether he perceives that specialist as a credible authority. If you wish to guide a man toward a solution, do not pressure him with emotions. Instead, highlight the prestige and competence of the resource you are suggesting. Intelligence, intuition, and the language of love. While men and women may share the same level of raw intelligence, they apply it differently. Masculine energy relies heavily on logic, evidence, and physical capability. For a man, the world is often a series of facts to be navigated. Women, regardless of their intellectual prowess, possess a more developed access to intuition and spirituality. A woman senses when a situation is off, even if the logic seems sound. This difference extends to how love is voiced. For a man, the phrase, "I need you," is a profound declaration. It signifies that you are the missing piece of his life's equation, essential for his joy and stability. To a woman, love is a constant, flowing emotion. "I love you." For her, it is a spiritual state. For him, it is a proven fact of his commitment. He believes that by staying, providing, and marrying you, he has already spoken his love. The subconscious shadows, rejection versus abandonment. To build a secure relationship, we must protect our partner's sore spots. A man's deepest subconscious fear is that of being rejected or found unworthy. When a woman compares her husband to another man, a brother, a father, or a successful colleague, she triggers a primal fear of losing. In his mind, if he is not the best in your eyes, he is nothing. A woman's shadow, however, is the fear of being abandoned. She looks for proofs of love, surprises, touches, and compliments. When these are absent, she feels she is being left behind emotionally. By understanding these fears, we can stop accidentally wounding each other. A wise woman reinforces her man's dignity, ensuring he feels worthy. A wise man provides the constant pulses of attention that reassure a woman she is cherished. Principles of stability and the search for perfection. Men often live by a principle of functional stability. If the system is working, the bills are paid, the house is standing, the children are safe, there is no need to change anything. For a man, change requires a massive expenditure of energy and creates new problems to solve. Women are the world's improvers. Driven by estrogen and a highly connected brain, women seek perfection. They see how a good home can be better, how a career can be more meaningful, and how a man can reach his full potential. This is the push of the feminine spirit. However, if this push is too constant, a man may give up, feeling he can never satisfy his wife's standards. The secret is to show him how your vision for better actually benefits his comfort and status, turning your desire into a shared mission. Communication, specificity versus emotion. Finally, the mature woman must master the art of conversation. A man's brain is structured for specificity. He speaks to achieve a goal or convey a fact. A woman often speaks to process an emotion or explore a feeling, moving fluidly from one topic to another. This chatter can overwhelm a man, causing him to tune out because he cannot find the point of the story. To be heard, practice emotional listening when he speaks. When he is focused on a specific topic, stay there with him. Allow him to finish his thought completely before pivoting. By respecting the structure of his thoughts, you ensure that when you do speak about your emotions, he has the mental space to truly listen. Who Awakens, Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Chapter 2. Defining man, husband, and courage. To build a thriving partnership, we must first master the terminology of the landscape we are navigating. In a world where the lines between genders are increasingly blurred, we return to the essential biological and psychological architecture. This section establishes the three core concepts that form the bedrock of our work: the biological man, the relational role of the husband, and the spiritual virtue of courage. The concept of man. At its most fundamental level, a man is defined by his functional and morphological characteristics. While gender identity describes a person's internal sense of self, such as a woman who adopts male body language or dress, this book focuses on the biological male. This distinction is vital because a man's behavior is rooted in his hormonal background. A biological man is defined by a specific testosterone range, typically starting from a lower limit of 12.7 nmol and upward to 19 or more, and male genitalia. This isn't just about anatomy, it is about the brain. A brain bathed in testosterone is structured differently than a brain influenced by estrogen. This hormonal foundation dictates a man's stress responses, his linear way of thinking, and his drive for competition. When we speak of man in this book, we are referring to this adult male whose psyche is physically architected by his biology. Understanding this prevents us from expecting feminine reactions from a masculine structure. The concept of husband. A husband is not simply a man you live with. He is a man in a specific legal and spiritual relation to a woman through marriage. We emphasize that sharing a roof or a household does not transform a man into a husband. This distinction is critical for your internal boundaries. When a man enters a legal marriage, he accepts a shift in status and responsibility. He is no longer an individual navigating his own territory. He has committed to being a protector and provider within a structured union. For a woman, recognizing a man as a husband means acknowledging the fortress of security that the marriage contract represents. Throughout our lessons, we will explore why maintaining this formal distinction is essential for the health of your domestic harmony, and why living together often lacks the psychological weight required for true masculine responsibility. The concept of courage. Courage is the definitive quality expected of a masculine soul. It is defined as calm fortitude, presence of mind in danger, and mental bravery. While women can certainly be courageous, a man's courage is uniquely fueled by his testosterone. It is his ability to compose himself in the face of crisis, to concentrate when things fall apart, and to hold the line until the very end. However, a man's courage is not a static resource. It fluctuates according to his life cycle. The fatherhood dip. When a man becomes a father, his testosterone naturally decreases. This is a biological design to help him develop gentleness and care. Paradoxically, this can lead to a crisis of masculinity, where he feels a pull toward male-only environments, hunting, the gym, or friends, to recharge his competitive drive and raise his levels again. The midlife surge. As children grow and leave the nest, a man's testosterone often rises again. He returns to his wife with a renewed desire to be the experienced, handsome hero. This is a high-risk period for marriages. If a wife treats him like a child or fails to admire his resilience, he may seek a new audience, a woman who reflects his courage back to him. The art of observation. For a man, it is vital that his courage is witnessed and emphasized. He knows deep down how brave he is, but he needs to see it reflected in your eyes. If you treat him as just someone I'm used to, his libido and his loyalty may begin to wither. Your task is to look for these qualities in your daily life. Notice the moments he remains calm when the car breaks down, or when he makes a decisive decision for the family. By highlighting his bravery and presence of mind, you nourish his masculine spirit. Unless he is clinically ill, his Midas touch and his passion are waiting to be awakened by a woman who truly sees his courage. Who Awakens, Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Chapter 3. The Biological and Social Advantage. The Power of the Married Man. In the journey of understanding the masculine blueprint, one of the most compelling chapters lies in the stark contrast between the single life and the state of marriage. While modern culture often romanticizes the freedom of the bachelor, cold statistics and biological realities tell a different story. Marriage is not merely a social contract. It is a life-enhancing structure that transforms a man's health, his longevity, and his professional trajectory. For the woman, understanding this is the first step in realizing her profound influence as the master frequency of the home. The professional edge, responsibility as currency. Statistics reveal that married people are 3 times more likely to secure leadership positions than their single counterparts. From a corporate perspective, marriage is viewed as a, quote, certification of responsibility. When an employer sees a wedding ring, they see a man who has voluntarily committed to a life beyond his own immediate desires. He is perceived as stable, reliable, and motivated. Because he has a fortress to defend and a family to provide for, he is less likely to engage in reckless workplace behavior or impulsive resignations. In the eyes of leadership, a married man has already passed the ultimate test of management, the ability to maintain a functional, long-term partnership. The longevity factor, the wife as a health guardian. One of the most profound benefits of marriage is found in the physical body. On average, married men live 9 years longer than single men. They fall ill half as often as bachelors, and 3 times less often than divorced men. This longevity gap is largely due to the feminine drive for perfection and care. By nature, a woman is an improver. She monitors the environment and notices the subtle shifts in her partner's health that he might ignore. Left to his own devices, a man often operates on the principle of functional stability. If he isn't in agony, he assumes he is healthy. He treats his body like a machine that only needs attention when it breaks down completely. A wise wife, however, nudges him toward preventative care. Urologists and specialists often remark that women are the primary reason men seek treatment for conditions like prostatitis or early-stage cancers before they become terminal. Through her attention to nutrition, hygiene, and regular checkups, the wife acts as a biological shield, extending her husband's life through the power of her intuition and care. Financial motivation, the Midas touch of family. Financially, married men consistently out-earn single men. This is not a coincidence. It is a result of a shifted psychological framework. A bachelor often lives for the now, managing his expenses poorly or spending impulsively on social adventures because it is enough for me. A married man, however, is driven by the dreams his wife helps paint. A woman creates the vision of the big house, the safe car, and the future for the children. She provides the emotional dividends and rewards that make his hard work feel meaningful. Because he wants to be the hero in her eyes, he is more motivated to ask for bonuses, seek promotions, and find compromises in difficult work situations. His testosterone is channeled into building a kingdom rather than being wasted on short-term thrills. Risk mitigation and the social buffer. The single life is often a landscape of high-risk behavior. Bachelors are statistically more prone to reckless driving, substance abuse, and dangerous adventures because they feel they have nothing to lose. A married man carries the invisible weight of his family's well-being in his mind. He is less inclined to take unnecessary risks because he fears letting down the people who depend on him. Furthermore, marriage provides an emotional support system that male friendships cannot replicate. Men typically interact through competition or shared tasks. They rarely offer the deep, empathetic support a man needs during a crisis. Without a wife, a man often remains alone with his problems, as asking a friend for help can feel like an admission of weakness. The wife provides the presence of mind and the emotional sanctuary that allows a man to recover from the world's battles and return to them with renewed strength. The strategic advantage of the husband role. Ultimately, the state of being a husband anchors a man's masculine energy, turning a wandering boy into a stable rock. For the woman, this understanding is empowering. It shows that her nudges, her dreams, and even her high standards are not burdens to the man, but the very tools that make him more successful, healthier, and more resilient. Who Awakens, Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Chapter 4. The Architect of Desire. A professional guide to men's psychosexual development. Understanding a man's behavior in adulthood requires a deep look into the blueprint of his past. Psychosexual development is not just about the body. It is a complex intersection of hormones, mother-child bonding, and social mirroring. As women, understanding these stages allows us to decode why a man may be emotionally distant, sexually passive, or deeply anchored in certain habits. The foundation, sexual self-awareness, ages 1 to 5. The journey begins at birth. Between the ages of 1 and 5, a boy forms his gender identity. This stage is heavily influenced by the mother. If a mother accepts his masculinity completely, loving him without violating his space and treating his entire body, including his genitals, as natural and good, he develops a sense of wholeness. However, many mothers subconsciously switch off the genital area due to their own limiting beliefs. The child begins to sense that this part of him is bad or purely functional. This often leads to adult men who view sex only as a means of reproduction or a physical release, lacking the ability to integrate eroticism with emotional tenderness. The social blueprint, stereotypes of behavior, 5 to 12. During this phase, boys begin to develop the stereotype of sexual behavior. They start to imitate male role models, fathers, coaches, or teachers. This is where the masculine armor is forged. The belief that men shouldn't cry, must handle conflict alone, and must take responsibility for their actions. If a boy lacks a positive male role model, he may adopt street masculinity, associating manhood with swearing, smoking, or aggression. At this stage, boys transition from maternal play to logical games, puzzles, and competition, which prepares their brain for the linear, goal-oriented thinking of the testosterone brain. The ascent, psychosexual orientation, ages 12 to 26. This is the era of the testosterone peak. Between 12 and 16, hormones flood the system, often leading to intense sexual desire. The peer community. It is vital for a teenager to be part of a peer group where he can work through his attraction to the opposite sex. This is the training ground for winning over a woman. A man's adult confidence often stems from whether he was successful in attracting girls during these formative years. A note on development. During the ages of 14 to 16, some teenagers may explore same-sex curiosity as a way to process overwhelming hormones in a taboo environment. In a healthy trajectory, this is often a passing phase of exploration before moving toward the opposite sex. However, if a young man finds deep emotional success in these groups, it can shape his adult orientation. The 5 stages of libido formation. A man's desire does not appear all at once. It grows through a specific hierarchy. If a stage is skipped or virtualized, lived only through the internet, his adult sexuality will be stunted. The conceptual/platonic stage. The boy realizes girls are different. He feels a pure love, wanting only to be near her, hold her hand, or carry her bag. This builds the foundation for emotional safety. The romantic stage. He begins to notice sexual images in movies and art. He learns the courtship dance, inviting a girl to a cafe or the movies. If he is rejected here, he may become the adult nerd or passive observer who is afraid to initiate. The erotic phase. Testosterone hits its peak. Erotic dreams and masturbation begin. This is where fantasy is born. If this stage is lived only virtually, pornography, the man may enter adulthood unable to perform with a real woman because he hasn't learned the feedback loop of a partner's reactions. The sexual stage. Physical contact begins. The man learns his sexual stereotype, what he likes, and how to satisfy a partner. Variety here helps him understand that women are different, which prevents him from becoming bored later in life. Mature sexuality. This is the development of a sexual rhythm. The man settles into a consistent pattern with one woman. In this stage, sexuality must be nurtured through psychological connection, or it risks becoming a chore. Who Awakens, Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Chapter 5. Mastering Representational Systems. We must master the art of the representational system. This is the primary sensory filter through which a person perceives the world, processes information, and receives love. Every individual has a dominant system: auditory, visual, kinesthetic, or digital, and miscommunication often happens simply because partners are speaking different sensory languages. When you align your communication with your partner's dominant system, conflict dissolves and deep trust takes its place. The auditory man, the power of the word. The auditory man experiences the world through his ears. For him, the meaning of your words is just as important as the timbre, pace, and melody of your voice. He is highly sensitive to raised tones, rough language, or sudden loud noises, which can cause him genuine anxiety and mental confusion. Key traits. He remembers voices better than faces, needs silence to concentrate, and often eavesdrops on conversations even when he isn't participating. The ear gate to love. To reach him, you must use hearing words. Listen to me. Tell me. I hear what you're saying. A low, calm, and rhythmic voice is his greatest aphrodisiac. If you shout or use harsh tones, his brain effectively switches off to protect itself from the noise. The visual man, the architect of order. While it is often said that all men love with their eyes, the true visual man takes this to a higher level. He lives in a world of images, aesthetics, and spatial harmony. For him, a messy house or an unkempt partner is not just a nuisance, it is a source of profound internal unrest. Key traits. He values beauty and style over almost everything else. He is highly organized and feels most relaxed when his surroundings are tidy. He judges by the clothes and has a vivid imagination. The eye gate to love. He understands love when he sees a well-groomed woman, a sparkling eye, and a clean home. To influence him, emphasize visual aesthetics. However, be aware that too much physical touch can irritate him if he is tired. He prefers to look at his woman before he reaches out to touch her. The kinesthetic man, the spirit of touch. The kinesthetic man perceives reality through tactile sensations, movement, smell, and taste. He communicates with his entire skin. If the auditory man needs to hear you and the visual man needs to see you, the kinesthetic man must feel you to know you are there. Key traits. He prioritizes comfort over style, preferring soft, natural fabrics and oversized clothes. He is often disorganized, the order and chaos type, because he relies on touch rather than sight to find his belongings. The touch gate to love. Relationships with him are impossible without hugs, kisses, and physical proximity. He learns through delicious food with pleasant textures and the comforting sense of his partner. If you are at a distance, he may literally not hear your words. You must be within his physical reach for information to register. The digital, discrete man, the logic specialist. The digital man is the analyst. He possesses all the senses, but refuses to give weight to any information until it has been processed through the filter of logic, facts, and cause and effect. He is often the reserved or withdrawn man who avoids eye contact while his brain is busy categorizing your data. Key traits: he is cautious, pedantic, and highly systematic. He dislikes emotional outbursts because they lack logical data. He often developed this system as a childhood defense mechanism to adapt to an unpredictable environment. The logic gate to love. To reach him, put emotions aside and speak in specifics. Use phrases like, "I need your opinion," "Is it worth doing this?" or "What is your advice?" He melts when his intellect is respected. If you get offended or withdraw, he simply analyzes your behavior as a known pattern and waits for it to pass, rather than engaging with your feelings. Bridging the sensory gap. The most common friction occurs between visual and kinesthetic types. A visual man who is feeling bad wants solitude, no visual clutter. A kinesthetic woman who is feeling bad wants a hug, tactile comfort. When they project their own needs onto each other, both end up feeling neglected. By identifying your partner's system, you stop being two different planets. You learn that his silence isn't a rejection. He might just be a visual person needing a clean room, or a digital person processing your last sentence. Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Next chapter. The Generational Echo. A professional guide to parental influence. To truly master the masculine blueprint, a woman must look beyond the man standing before her and into the shadows of the family that raised him. A man's psychology is not formed in a vacuum. It is an intricate tapestry woven from the traditions, religions, and emotional climates of his childhood home. Understanding his parental history is not about judgment, but about gaining the presence of mind to know what he is realistically capable of giving and where he may need your guidance to grow. The shadow of infidelity and the fortress. For any child, the father represents the fortress, the primary source of strength and security. When this fortress is compromised by infidelity, it leaves a lasting imprint on a boy's psyche. If a man grew up watching his father cheat while his mother endured to preserve the family, he may carry conflicting messages into adulthood. He might have felt deep pity for his mother and hatred for his father as a teenager, yet as an adult, he may subconsciously begin to understand his father. If he views his mother as a saint who tolerated everything, he may expect the same of you. He might rationalize his own indiscretions by thinking, "I provide, I am responsible, and I haven't abandoned the family, just like my father." The insight. Understanding if there was betrayal in his past helps you identify if he views intimacy and fidelity as separate from responsibility. Your task is to show him that modern harmony requires a new model, one where intimacy is not compensated for elsewhere, but developed deeply within the home. The single-parent imbalance. A significant portion of modern men are raised in single-parent households, which creates specific psychological challenges. The mother-son symbiosis. In the absence of a father, a mother often turns to her son as a surrogate husband figure or emotional anchor. This creates a symbiotic bond that can be difficult to break. You may find that his mother has moved into your marriage emotionally, controlling his decisions, or critiquing your care for him. The missing role model. If he grew up without a father, he may lack the blueprint for how to show attention to a wife, how to initiate foreplay, or how to discipline children with authority. He doesn't ignore your needs because he is bad, but because he literally does not know how to perform these roles. He is learning the language of being a husband and father for the first time, with you as his only guide. The personality of the parents. The emotional temperature of his childhood home dictates his current comfort zone. Anxious and overprotective. An anxious mother projects a distrust of the world. A man raised this way may be hypervigilant, constantly worrying about his children or displaying a deep-seated distrust of his wife's intentions. Aggressive and domineering. Men raised by domineering parents often become submissive or guilt-ridden. They may allow their parents to continue manipulating their lives, controlling where they live, or how they spend money, well into adulthood. Insensitive and cold. If his mother was emotionally distant, he may be unemotional and withdrawn. He truly might not understand your feelings, because he never learned to differentiate emotions at home. When you say you don't understand me, he isn't being cruel. He is biologically and psychologically blind to the emotional nuance you are presenting. The architecture of the family model. Finally, we must consider the structural model of his family, the European, democratic, versus the Eastern traditional. Roles. European, fluid, no male or female chores. Traditional, clearly defined. Man provides, woman nurtures. Responsibility. European, shared based on who has the time. Traditional, distinct. She manages the nest, he the kingdom. Expectation. European, he expects a wife who works and shares tasks. Traditional, he expects a wife who creates home comfort. Conflict trigger. European, if one partner shirks their half of the work. Traditional, if the wife demands he do domestic chores. The path to harmony. Many families today suffer because they live a mixed model, living like a European family by day, both working, but expecting an Eastern model by night, the wife doing all housework. This creates deep resentment. To build a harmonious life, you must have a logical conversation about which model you are building. Trust in a relationship is destroyed when financial transparency is missing. Whether you choose the European or Eastern path, money must be a shared resource. The "my money is mine and his money is ours" mentality is a poison that destroys masculine trust and leads to long-term conflict. Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Next chapter. Age, testosterone, and masculine vitality. To understand the man in your life, you must understand the invisible driver of his existence, testosterone. This hormone is the master frequency of the masculine soul, regulating not only his libido, but his clarity of mind, cardiovascular health, and professional drive. As a man moves through the seasons of his life, the fluctuations of this hormone dictate his psychological needs and sexual behaviors. Recognizing these patterns allows you to stop reacting with anxiety and start leading with wisdom. The 3 ages of the masculine soul. 1. The young explorer, ages 12 to 26, high drive, low focus. In this peak hormonal era, a young man is often testosterone drunk. His desire for intimacy is frequent, yet his approach is often self-centered and hurried. Because his primary goal is physical release rather than deep connection, he may move quickly from one partner to another. He is inexperienced and often fails to understand a woman's needs, leading to a fast arousal, fast exit pattern. At this stage, he rarely seeks to build a fortress or start a family. He is simply navigating the irresistible surge of his biological reactor. 2. The prime stabilizer, ages 26 to 40, quality over quantity. As testosterone levels stabilize, typically between 14 to 19 nmol, a man enters his most productive and partner-focused years. Frequency becomes less important than the quality of the experience. He begins to prioritize his partner's pleasure because her success in the bedroom feeds his confidence in the world. However, this is also a high-risk period for psychological impotence. If a woman, distracted by motherhood and nursing, which sublimates her own desire, consistently rejects him, the man may experience a crisis of confidence that spills over into his career and business success. 3. The mature strategist, age 40 plus, the search for novelty. In maturity, testosterone begins its natural decline. While interest in frequent sex may decrease, the psychological trigger becomes paramount. Because physical arousal is no longer automatic, he seeks experimentation and novelty to ignite his desire. This is a critical transition. If a marriage lacks sexual innovation and play during this stage, the man may seek a new audience to prove his masculinity still functions. The testosterone mirror, assessing health and mind. You can often read a man's hormonal health without a blood test, simply by observing his physical form and mental state. Low testosterone, physical sign, waist circumference, greater than 102 centimeters, obesity, mental state, depression, chronic fatigue, irritability, health, heart problems, joint pain, inflammation, libido, erectile dysfunction, pornography addiction, high testosterone, physical sign, waist circumference, less than 94 centimeters, muscle mass, mental state, clear mind, confidence, resilience, health, healthy heart, strong bones, vitality, libido, high libido, strong erections, active sex life. The obesity trap. When a man's waist exceeds 102 centimeters, his testosterone is likely below the healthy threshold, 12.7 nmol. This leads to a vicious cycle of intoxication and inflammation. Obesity causes the penis to shorten, retracting into the fat pad by 3 to 4 centimeters, which reduces a woman's physical pleasure and her pelvic floor stimulation. This physical decline often leads to sexual withdrawal, where a man retreats into the shame of pornography because he no longer feels capable of being a rock for his partner. Health in the nervous system. A decline in physical health is never just physical. It is a direct attack on a man's psychology. The cognitive decline. Low testosterone is linked to early dementia and absent-mindedness. A man who once managed a business may suddenly find himself unable to handle the pressure. The dopamine void. Orgasm releases dopamine, the hormone of performance and focus. A man with infrequent sex lacks this dopamine rush, making him passive, tired, and unmotivated to move forward in life. The muscle-blood connection, 2/3 of the penis, is surrounded by pelvic floor muscles. If these muscles are weak due to a sedentary lifestyle, blood flow is restricted, leading to weak erections or dry orgasms. This leads to prostate issues, adenoma, prostatitis, and further psychological withdrawal. The woman's mission, the guardian of vitality. A man's confidence in life is the direct result of his success in the bedroom. If he feels powerful, desired, and capable as a lover, he will be a lion in his profession. Your task as the improver is to motivate him toward health, not through criticism, but through shared vision. Monitor the waistline. Encourage activity and nutrition as a path to his power. Ignite the mind. Understand that 40+ requires your creativity. Introduce toys, provocations, and new scripts to keep his biological reactor engaged. Be the mirror. Reflect his masculinity back to him. If he is insecure or passive, help him reclaim his confidence through intimate connection. A healthy, successful, and active man is a project you build together. By protecting his testosterone and his masculine health, you ensure that the man who stands beside you remains a vibrant, focused, and powerful partner for decades to come. Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Next chapter. Age, testosterone, and masculine vitality. To understand the man in your life, you must understand the invisible driver of his existence, testosterone. This hormone is the master frequency of the masculine soul, regulating not only his libido, but his clarity of mind, cardiovascular health, and professional drive. As a man moves through the seasons of his life, the fluctuations of this hormone dictate his psychological needs and sexual behaviors. Recognizing these patterns allows you to stop reacting with anxiety and start leading with wisdom. The 3 ages of the masculine soul. 1. The young explorer, ages 12 to 26, high drive, low focus. In this peak hormonal era, a young man is often testosterone drunk. His desire for intimacy is frequent, yet his approach is often self-centered and hurried. Because his primary goal is physical release rather than deep connection, he may move quickly from one partner to another. He is inexperienced and often fails to understand a woman's needs, leading to a fast arousal, fast exit pattern. At this stage, he rarely seeks to build a fortress or start a family. He is simply navigating the irresistible surge of his biological reactor. 2. The prime stabilizer, ages 26 to 40, quality over quantity. As testosterone levels stabilize, typically between 14 to 19 nmol, a man enters his most productive and partner-focused years. Frequency becomes less important than the quality of the experience. He begins to prioritize his partner's pleasure because her success in the bedroom feeds his confidence in the world. However, this is also a high-risk period for psychological impotence. If a woman, distracted by motherhood and nursing, which sublimates her own desire, consistently rejects him, the man may experience a crisis of confidence that spills over into his career and business success. 3. The mature strategist, age 40+, the search for novelty. In maturity, testosterone begins its natural decline. While interest in frequent sex may decrease, the psychological trigger becomes paramount. Because physical arousal is no longer automatic, he seeks experimentation and novelty to ignite his desire. This is a critical transition. If a marriage lacks sexual innovation and play during this stage, the man may seek a new audience to prove his masculinity still functions. The testosterone mirror, assessing health and mind. You can often read a man's hormonal health without a blood test, simply by observing his physical form and mental state. Low testosterone, physical sign, waist circumference, greater than 102 centimeters, obesity, mental state, depression, chronic fatigue, irritability, health, heart problems, joint pain, inflammation, libido, erectile dysfunction, pornography addiction, high testosterone, physical sign, waist circumference, less than 94 centimeters, muscle mass, mental state, clear mind, confidence, resilience. Health, healthy heart, strong bones, vitality, libido, high libido, strong erections, active sex life. The obesity trap. When a man's waist exceeds 102 centimeters, his testosterone is likely below the healthy threshold, 12.7 nmol. This leads to a vicious cycle of intoxication and inflammation. Obesity causes the penis to shorten, retracting into the fat pad by 3 to 4 centimeters, which reduces a woman's physical pleasure and her pelvic floor stimulation. This physical decline often leads to sexual withdrawal, where a man retreats into the shame of pornography because he no longer feels capable of being a rock for his partner. Health in the nervous system. A decline in physical health is never just physical. It is a direct attack on a man's psychology. The cognitive decline. Low testosterone is linked to early dementia and absent-mindedness. A man who once managed a business may suddenly find himself unable to handle the pressure. The dopamine void. Orgasm releases dopamine, the hormone of performance and focus. A man with infrequent sex lacks this dopamine rush, making him passive, tired, and unmotivated to move forward in life. The muscle-blood connection, 2/3 of the penis, is surrounded by pelvic floor muscles. If these muscles are weak due to a sedentary lifestyle, blood flow is restricted, leading to weak erections or dry orgasms. This leads to prostate issues, adenoma, prostatitis, and further psychological withdrawal. The woman's mission, the guardian of vitality. A man's confidence in life is the direct result of his success in the bedroom. If he feels powerful, desired, and capable as a lover, he will be a lion in his profession. Your task as the improver is to motivate him toward health, not through criticism, but through shared vision. Monitor the waistline. Encourage activity and nutrition as a path to his power. Ignite the mind. Understand that 40+ requires your creativity. Introduce toys, provocations, and new scripts to keep his biological reactor engaged. Be the mirror. Reflect his masculinity back to him. If he is insecure or passive, help him reclaim his confidence through intimate connection. A healthy, successful, and active man is a project you build together. By protecting his testosterone and his masculine health, you ensure that the man who stands beside you remains a vibrant, focused, and powerful partner for decades to come. Part 1. The Masculine Blueprint. Next chapter, Mastering Temperament and the Nervous System. Temperament is the innate type of nervous system a man is born with. It is his biological species. Just as a birch tree cannot be forced to grow like a pine, a man cannot change the fundamental speed and intensity of his nervous reactions. True relational mastery begins when you stop trying to fix his nature and start building communication strategies that align with his specific energetic type. The choleric man, the unstoppable engine. The choleric nervous system is characterized by excitation dominating over inhibition. He is a man of action, high energy, and intense decisiveness. He is the geologist who discovers new territories, driven by a powerful internal fire. However, this engine lacks effective brakes. The boiling point. A choleric man boils slowly but intensely. Once he reaches a peak of fury, he loses control over his words and actions. Because his inhibitory system is weak, it takes him a very long time to cool down. The grudge. After a frenzy, he feels emotionally drained. He often struggles to forgive because the memory of the conflict remains stuck in his high-energy system. How to communicate. Proof of loyalty. He is naturally distrustful and prone to jealousy. Never flirt with others in his presence. Stay physically close, on his dominant side, to anchor his attention. The silent strategy. During an argument, do not add fuel to the fire. Let him vent. Never try to resolve a conflict while he is on edge. Wait for the storm to pass completely before discussing the facts. Self-apology. Don't wait for him to apologize quickly. He often doesn't realize the extent of his rudeness until much later. You may need to lead the way with a calm, grounding energy. The sanguine man, the balanced optimist. The sanguine man possesses a balanced nervous system where excitation and inhibition are equal. He is the developer who follows the choleric, turning raw ideas into flourishing projects. He is energetic, open, and wears his emotions on his face. Emotional fluidity. He connects easily with people and finds common ground quickly. While he gets angry fast, he also forgives fast because his brakes work efficiently. The need for positivity. A sanguine man thrives on openness. Constant negativity or nagging acts as a poison to his system. making his home a place of exhaustion rather than strength. How to communicate. Match his openness. He struggles with withdrawn or secretive women. Be his partner in positivity. Rapid switching. In an argument, move quickly from the negative back to the positive. He doesn't hold grudges, so don't force him to dwell on past mistakes. The freedom warning. Because he is so sociable and charming, he may be prone to switching his attention to other women if he feels suffocated at home. The phlegmatic man, the calm fortress. The phlegmatic man is defined by strong inhibition and slow excitation. He is the introvert who brings systems to perfection. Outwardly, he appears silent, reserved, and sometimes slow, but this is a mask for a vast, raging inner world. The hidden fire. Do not mistake his outward calm for indifference. He feels deeply but lacks the hardware to express those feelings. Reliability. He is the most stable and reliable of all types, but he cannot be rushed. How to communicate. The no-rush rule. If you give him multiple tasks or pressure him to decide quickly, he will shut down. Give him one task at a time and allow him the space to process it. Emotional extraction. He won't give you romantic feedback naturally. You must ask gentle, leading questions to help him reveal the love that is boiling inside him. Psychosomatic risk. Because he swallows his emotions, a phlegmatic man living in a high-conflict home is at high risk for heart attacks, ulcers, and strokes. He needs a peaceful sanctuary to stay healthy. The melancholic man, the sensitive soul. The melancholic system has strong inhibition and very weak excitation. He lacks the raw energy of the other types, making him sensitive, timid, and highly vulnerable to the opinions of others. He is often a creative genius, feeling the world's pain more sharply than anyone else. The need for a mother partner. He thrives with a woman who can provide maternal-style support, doting on him and protecting his fragile energy. Mood-dependent libido. His desire is entirely dependent on his emotional state. If a neighbor upset him or he read a sad book, his physical energy for intimacy will vanish. How to communicate. The support anchor. He needs constant reassurance. Phrases like "I believe in you" are his lifeblood. Avoid the pessimism trap. If you let him complain, he will sink into a black hole of despair. Gently steer every conversation toward a positive next step. Safe harbor. Arguments and tantrums don't just upset him, they exhaust him. Keep the home atmosphere gentle to keep his spirit alive. Temperament compatibility, the law of resonance. Contrary to popular belief, opposites do not attract when it comes to the nervous system. A choleric abuser and a melancholic victim is a dangerous pairing. Ideal matches: sanguine plus sanguine, phlegmatic plus phlegmatic, melancholic plus melancholic. The growth strategy, harmony, is achieved by balancing each other's extremes. Cholerics need to learn restraint, often through sports or meditation. Sanguines need to learn empathy, phlegmatics need to learn trust, and melancholics must master positive thinking. Your homework. Take the iSync personality test for both yourself and your partner. Once you have the results, would you like me to help you create a communication script specifically designed for his nervous system type? Let me know. Discover the secrets to nurturing your lifestyle and love style at wishforlove.org.